is a show called "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia," but it seems like if you're a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, there's always some drama somewhere. I mean, now that the drama with AJ Brown's over, now we got to come out with this article with the 10 anonymous Eagles sources talking about their concerns with Jalen Hurts. Um, and so my takeaway is, I'm going to be honest. I saw the headline of this article. I did not read the article. I will not read the article. I refuse to, because I think it's a lot of clickbait. I think it's a lot of BS, and I think that this Philly media wants to start BS. However, I will say this: this Eagles organization, they are an organization that wants to make changes if there needs to be changes to be made. And they will move off quarterbacks. They will move off coaches if they feel they need to. And I don't like a lot of noise in buildings. That's one of my rules in the offseason.
Oh, you should. That's where having less noise in Berea while Kevin Stefanski was head coach was somewhat of a relief. There's been more noise the last few months than there had been the prior 6 years.
So here's my big overarching picture on this. As an Eagles fan, it's tough for me to admit, but this is how I honestly feel. I think my team is either going to use this as motivation. Jalen's going to play well. AJ Brown's going to have a great year. They're going to be back in perennial Super Bowl contention. Or they're going to win 5 games. And there's a possibility that this may be Jalen Hurts last year as the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. Because
that would be hard for me to believe, the latter scenario.
Well, here's the situation that I do find interesting. This year is the last year that Jalen Hurts' money and his contract is fully guaranteed.
So are you thinking that Howie Roseman's going to draft a quarterback in this draft in the first 2 rounds?
I do not. However, I do think that it will be a story in the offseason if the offense struggles again. What I think is they're going to play this season out. And if by chance Jalen struggles, the team is bad, whatever situation could become negative this year, could they load up and go for next year's quarterback class? I think that is at least not a 0% possibility.
Yeah. At least, thank God, I can't imagine what Howie Roseman would have done if the Browns hadn't withdrawn that insane proposal. Trade 5 years worth of draft picks. Thank God. Bye-bye.
And I know that there was a conversation on Cleveland Talk Radio this week about, would you, if you're the Browns, trade Myles Garrett for Jalen Hurts?
I know the cap logistics probably wouldn't make much sense, but if you're getting a quarterback who has won a Super Bowl, and he is a good quarterback who is not Deshaun Watson, who actually knows how to run a playbook, run a huddle, then yeah, I would do that deal. I would do that deal as much as I would miss Garrett, and I love Garrett.
This is where I would actually surprise you if I'm the Browns. Actually, don't make that deal.
Yeah, and I get where I think I know where you're going to go at with this.
And I think the reason is, number one, Jalen's expensive. Mm-hmm. And number 2 is Jalen, and again, I love him. I think Jalen Hurts, especially in the postseason when he's clutch, I've argued on this show and other shows, I think he's a top 5 quarterback, arguably in the league.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But at the same token, you can make the argument he does need a run game. He does need a good offensive line. He does need good weapons, which I've said almost every quarterback does need that. So I'm not holding that against him. Mm-hmm. But the Browns do not have that. So we're only addressing this because they were talking about it in the Cleveland media, which I think is, Cleveland's way of not talking about the Cavs or the Guardians because they have to talk about the Browns.
It's a whole messy situation, and I won't get into it. But I don't know if Tony Rizzo is getting paid under the table. I'm saying this mostly in jest, or if he doesn't know anything right now. But the way that I need to just tell people this, folks, the person who selected Sanders wasn't Jimmy Haslam. It was J.W. Johnson, his son-in-law. J.W. Johnson actually lost out on a battle at the top of last year's draft where he wanted to select Travis Hunter. And I've heard from sources, Hunter's a really good high character, probably one of the highest character guys from last year's class. So I'm not taking this as a shot at Travis Hunter, okay? But he lost out on an argument to a different faction in the building, not necessarily the coaching staff, where they ended up trading down, and you get Mason Graham, you get the pick that you take Judkins with, and you still wound up taking Schlesinger with your original pick, and you get the quote-unquote great draft class that saved Andrew Berry's butt. That doesn't happen unless JW loses that argument, which he did. But he did butt his way in and really screwed things up when he got Shedeur Sanders selected.
Well, back to this conversation. No, I mean, do I think it's possible the Eagles take a quarterback in like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, day 3? Yeah, I do. Especially if they're going to trade.
They
Tanner
typically
McKee,
have at least the last couple of years, every few years, right?
They have a lot of interesting directions where they could go in the 1st round. I could see them maybe trying to get Lane Johnson's replacement.
That would be good for them. That would be very good.
If they like who's there. You know, I could see maybe you go after Dallas Goedert's eventual replacement, because I do think this will be Goddard's last year in Philly.
I think you can get a guy, maybe, I don't think Ohio State tight end Max Clare is going to go in the 1st round. But
no, he's going to be like the 2nd or 3rd
I know
round
somebody who was teammates with him while Clare was at Purdue. And
they
I got a ringing endorsement of Clare. So I think he could be a solid tight end. I'm not saying he's going to be a star at all, but I think he could be a guy you could get into the 3rd round easily.
They definitely need edge rusher and safety, so they could go there too. I guess my point is this. I don't expect them to take A.J. Brown's replacement in the 1st round. I don't expect them to move off Jalen Hurts this year. And there is this story about Jalen out there that's, Jalen's refused to change the offense. He doesn't want to go under center much. And
should we talk about Lamar Jackson in that same vein?
Well, I've talked about this too. I think it's, and again, some people in the media talk about this, but not everybody. Jalen Hurts has had literally a different play caller in his ear every season in college and pro football, except for one. The year that he was his 2nd year in Philadelphia. It was Sirianni's 1st year. Sirianni called the plays for the 1st half of that season. They go 2-5. He gives the play calling over to Shane Steichen. They go on the run. They make the playoffs. They lose to Tampa in that wild card game. Steichen is the full-time play caller the next year. We go to the Super Bowl. Everybody knows the history after that. Yeah. But
do you remember that not only Baker in Cleveland, but even through Carolina, LA Rams, and in Tampa Bay, he's basically had a different play caller every single
when you're changing year. When you're changing this, like, it's just hard. It's going hard. To take time. And
that's you've seen that with Philly. They've been able to have success. Cleveland, unfortunately, not. I don't remember how Buffalo's done it, like with some of their recent, coordinator turnover. But
listen,
it's so hard to do when you're turning over a staff position like that.
And there is no denying our division got better. The Giants absolutely got better. I think the Commanders are going to be potentially right there again if Jaden Daniels is healthy.
Think they take Jeremiah Love? Because that's something I if he turns into a McCaffrey type, holy crap.
See, they need so much help on defense. I don't know what they will.
Is that they there's that too.
And like you talked about with Tennessee, they just need the argument with Tennessee is we just need a playmaker because we have none. The Commanders at least have Terry
Robert
McLaurin.
Saleh being the head coach being hired. I think that your first pick's probably going to trend.
No, I agree with you, except for if you want to say we literally have no talent. We need to give Cam Ward some sort of talent.
They got some guys, like, not necessarily top shelf, not your number ones like your J. Jeffs.
They got about 5 threes.
I'd say they have at least 1.5 twos in terms of WR2s. At least one, if not like a fringe second one. But by the way, later this month, our mock draft will drop at some point. You should make sure to read all of that.
I'm not here to debate the Titans.